The first time someone said it to their faces, Callum and Vivian Hadwick were at a neighborhood cookout, and their neighbor planted a hand on Callum's shoulder and said it the way some people deliver opinions they've decided are facts. That dog should not be in a house with a baby. Bruno was a 4-year-old Rottweiler, 97 pounds, a square, compact frame, and a face that communicated exactly one thing to people who didn't know him: threat. His ears were natural, not cropped. His expression was resting serious in the way of the breed, that fixed, watchful stillness that people unfamiliar with Rottweilers read as aggression and people familiar with them read as presence. He had been in their home since Callum found him in a parking lot in Raleigh, 11 weeks old, and confused, and decided in a parking lot with no plan that this was his dog now. He had been through basic obedience, advanced obedience, and 2 years of what Callum described as just living as part of the family. He had never bitten. He had never shown aggression toward a person. He had, on 2 separate occasions, placed himself between Vivian and an off-leash dog at the park that was behaving in ways she couldn't interpret fast enough. When their daughter Esme was born, Bruno went through the established introduction protocol that Vivian had researched for 3 months before the birth. He sniffed the blanket first. He met Vivian first, without the baby. He was introduced to Esme at floor level on neutral ground with the kind of patience and care that left nothing to chance. He accepted her the way he had accepted everything else in his life, fully, without drama, and with what could only be described as intention. None of this mattered to the neighborhood, to Vivian's mother, to 3 separate acquaintances who sent articles with subject lines about Rottweilers and infant fatalities. What they had decided about Bruno was already decided. Evidence was not the instrument being used. Callum stopped engaging with it. Vivian stopped reading the articles. Esme turned 5 months old, and Bruno slept at the foot of the crib every night, and nothing happened that supported what they'd been told would happen. And gradually the comments reduced to looks, and the looks reduced to nothing. And life moved through its ordinary patterns. Until the Tuesday night in March, when everything they had been told about Bruno was tested in a way none of them anticipated. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Esme was 7 months old. She had been healthy, no illness, no irregularity, nothing in her recent history that would have flagged concern. She had gone down at her normal time, 7:30, in the crib in her room, in the sleep sack she preferred, with the white noise machine at its usual volume. Bruno went to her room at 11:47. Callum knew the time because the bedside monitor showed the timestamp when it activated on the motion trigger. Bruno did not bark. He made the sound Callum had heard from him exactly twice before, a low, compressed vocalization that had no casual version, that existed only when Bruno had decided something required human attention immediately. Callum was at Esme's door in 30 seconds. Esme was in the crib. She was not crying. She was barely moving. Her sleep sack had shifted during the night and bunched at her chin. She was breathing. Callum could see it, slow and shallow, but the quality of her stillness was wrong in a way that his body recognized before his brain caught up. He lifted her. She was warm. She was limp in the specific way that is different from sleep limp, and he had never felt that difference before, but he understood it immediately. Vivian called 911. The paramedic on scene was a man named Ezra Knotts, 8 years in emergency medicine. He had Esme on portable monitoring within 4 minutes of arrival. He said 2 sentences. Her oxygen is low. We need to go now. Esme's blood oxygen saturation had dropped to 87%. The cause was positional. The sleep sac shift had created a partial airway obstruction that had been developing as she moved in. Sleep, progressive, silent, producing no sound that the monitor detected. The pediatric ER physician, Dr. Tunde Adeyemi, told them. The timeline mattered. He explained it in the measured way of someone calibrating how much information a parent can hold at once. At that saturation level with continued progression, the window to neurological consequence was not long. Bruno's alert, the initial vocalization, the behavior that brought Callum to the door, had preceded any symptom visible on the monitor by an estimated 12 to 15 minutes. Has your dog ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. What a dog detects in a sleeping infant's breathing is not what a monitor measures. A dog positioned close to a child's room reads the chemical composition of exhaled air, the specific compounds that shift as oxygen utilization changes, the volatile organic signatures of a body that is beginning to work harder than it should. Bruno had been at the foot of that crib for 7 months. He had a baseline. He knew when the baseline changed. He knew before the number on the monitor moved. Esme came home the next afternoon. Callum's mother was there. Vivian's mother was there. The neighbor from the cookout had sent flowers. No one said anything about Bruno. He was in his usual place at the foot of the crib. When they put Esme down, his chin on the floor, his eyes open. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Callum sat in the hallway outside Esme's room that night. He could see Bruno through the door, that compact dark shape against the floor, entirely still, the most stationary thing in the house. The monitor blinked green. The white noise machine ran its low, constant loop. Bruno's ears lifted once, angled toward Esme, then settled. Everything was fine. He had determined that everything was fine. He was staying anyway. The next story is about a German shepherd who started acting differently toward a toddler's left leg, and the fracture no x-ray had caught yet.